Okay, so let's start. Whatever, mostly uh, some of you have already pinged me in WhatsApp and shown the whatever was actually assigned to you. So we will look into this at the end of the class. Okay, let's go through a few more things which are actually needed. Like I thought that yesterday I would have done that, but looking into the situation, I have postponed that. Anyway, uh, let's look into two important things. One is constructor, another one is method. So, first thing is what is constructor? So, when we are simply writing any class, we have to utilize the members of that class. We have to create the uh, object, right, of that class. Simple concept, the blueprint, and its physical entity is that object. So there is one specific way by which this memory allocation and all this initialization, all these things happen, that is called constructor. So constructor is nothing but uh, the way by which you can initialize all the variables. If you want, you can initialize the variables in different ways, like you can have multiple constructors, but that needs to be uh, with specific argument, like the arguments of that constructor, of those constructors, needs to be different. And you can ask, like, till now we haven't written any constructor. So the thing is that if we don't write any constructor, then Apex will provide you the default constructor. The concept of default constructor is that it will automatically initialize and the values whatever is there, and it will actually do, primarily it will do the memory allocation. So let me log in the system. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how we can define a constructor? The name of the constructor must be the same as the name of the class. Okay. And what is that? How that is accessed? We use the keyword new. New is the keyword by which we can access the constructor. So what it will do, it will actually do the, if I am putting anything within that, for any variable, it will do the initialization of those variables in the object, in the defined object. If I am not doing that, then also the initial part, the memory allocation will be done by this. Like, the object will be ready to be used. Okay. Now, what I have done, I have written one constructor without any argument. What is argument? Argument means nothing but when I am calling this constructor, I can pass some values. And if I have to pass some value, then I have to put some arguments here. These are called input arguments. Okay. Or simply arguments. Now, I can do that. Like, so what I have done, I have I have defined, like, this thing, whatever I am showing you, only the technical part. You might say, why you are taking two arguments for this one and you are not actually using it? What is the use of this? So you can ask that question, because that is not logical. But what I am showing you right now is the technical part, not the logical part. Okay. So I have defined three constructors here. And as I have defined three constructors, how you can, first thing is that how you can understand whether uh, how you can understand, like, whether that is a specific constructor or not. For like, it is almost like defining a method, right? This are bracket open close is there. uh, First thing is that the name of the constructor and the class of the constructor will be the same, and constructor cannot have any return type. For method, I can have some return type. This one I will define today. What is void, what is integer, or whatever it is, I will define that today. So constructor will have only the same name of with the class. Second thing is that I can define multiple constructors, but the arguments must be different. Arguments means the type of the argument or the number of the argument must be different. Like, I have defined one constructor with one argument. There is one value I can pass when I am calling this. I can just use another, like, I can define another constructor with one argument. In that scenario, the data type must be different. Here I have used integer. That one must be something like uh, double or string or anything that I can define. But I cannot define two. uh, constructors with same number of arguments. Look at this. Here I have changed the name of the variables. Okay. Method already defined. This one is different. This one is nothing but you can put. So it will not be the issue, but it is saying method already defined. So constructor also they put the messages method, but this is the constructor. So I have just defined one constructor with two integers. Here I have defined another constructor with two integers. So this one is not allowed. You cannot define two constructors with same number of arguments. Fine. Now let's see what happens when I am trying to execute this, or I am trying to create object of this class. Here, when I am using this new and this name with first bracket open close, that means I am calling the constructor. Okay. So this is one constructor. Till now we have used this syntax only. And how we have used that, I will tell you in some time. Now say obj2 and obj3. Okay. Here I am just putting 10. Here I am putting 50 and 100. Fine. What will happen? The question is it possible? And if it is possible, what will happen? First answer is yes, it is possible. So obj1 object of my first class, this obj1 will be initialized by this constructor, and the value of I and A will be assigned by 0 and 255. So the value, uh, so the previous value, if I have put anything, that will be overwritten, and this will be the value. Now this one obj2, here I have put this argument. I have put one integer value. What will happen here? I will be assigned with 0. A will be assigned by 10. How? This 10 value will be coming to x, to integer x. As I have assigned x to A, then this 10 value will be assigned to A. And in obj3, it will call the constructor, this third constructor. Here I will be 0, dis value of dis will be 50, and value of A will be 100, because it will only go by sequence. So as in sequence x is first and y is second, then this 50 value will be copied in x, this 100 value will be copied in y. For your uh, sake of understanding, I am telling that to make it simple, this 50 value will be copied within x, this 100 value will be copied in within y, and x will be assigned. That means this 50 value will be assigned to this, and y is assigned to a, so that means this 100 value will be assigned to it. Is it clear to everybody what I have told?
Yes, sir.
Hello, hello,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So now,
Hello,
yep,
sir.
you
This is
heard.
Susaman. Actually, there is an internet problem. That's why I have joined late, sir. Sir, please repeat, sir. Please, last 10 minutes. What will the class work? If you repeat,
I
that
will
will be
repeat.
good.
I will repeat later when I will provide some assignment to some others, and
Okay, sir.
then I can repeat. Otherwise, it will be delayed for everybody. So this now the question comes like previously we haven't written these things, right? We haven't written these things. So if we don't write these things, then also we can use one constructor. This one we have used that previously as well, right? In that situation, what happens? How we can use some constructor which is not defined, because Apex will provide you the default constructor without argument. When we are writing any constructor that without argument, that is the default constructor. If I am not, just give me 1 minute. Okay. So when we are not writing any constructor, Apex will be providing the default constructor. Okay. Let's see what happens. Now, if I try to write this, I haven't executed the previous one, right? What we can do, we can simply print these things. obj1. Let's print obj1 directly. obj2. Fine. Let's execute. Okay. obj1, value of a 255, this is 0, I is 0. obj2, a is 10, this is 0, I is 0. obj3, 100, 50, and obviously I is 0 that I haven't put. Let's look into this. Initially, what we have put, those values are coming here, okay, for obj1. For obj2, whatever I have assigned internally, that has come to a. And for this one also, we can see like a equals to y. So value of a is 100. Here I have put 100. This value is coming into y, and that is getting assigned to a. Fine. So that's why it is coming 100. Clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Now let's do one thing. Let's comment it out. Sorry.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, I have a question.
yeah.
Previously, we have used a constructor by default Apex provided us, but
Mhm.
then what is the main purpose of the constructor? Why use this
Ideally,
one?
when you are actually writing the class and you can have numerous variables, okay, and your class can be used for different purpose. So to initialize the variables at runtime, like here what I can do when I am executing the class, like I am trying to initializing the class, and then I will be using the methods of this class, right? So at runtime, I can actually provide I can actually initialize the variables of this class. Say you have in real world, you have to write one class to actually do two things. Okay, you have to check, you have a standard account object, you know this account object, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have to check that initially when you were executing that class, the logic is that you have to compare two accounts, whether those two accounts are same or not. Okay,
Okay.
so the values of that account, of those accounts, you have to assign to some variables, okay, or in account object itself. Now say you have written one class by which you can take the values of those account object, say the name, the website address, these fields. Now when you were trying to compare, ideally how you should start, like you should have two different objects of that class, and say account A will be assigned to first object and account B will be assigned to the second object. And now you need to compare between object 1 and object 2. If you have to achieve this functionality, then it is better or it is useful that you have some way to assign the objects, the value of the objects when you are accessing that or you are using that. Correct. So you can take the values of account A and account B, but how you will put that in that object which you have defined? With constructor, you can do that.
Oh, okay, sir.
Clear? So
Yes, sir.
there can be different types or different scenarios where you need to actually assign the values of the variables you have defined in the class and that can be of different for different purpose altogether. Say you have written one class where you have written three different methods. One logic is actually checking whether that number is prime or not. Okay. Second logic is checking that number falls in Fibonacci series or not. How you can do that? There is some logic with that,
Yes.
right? And the third one is actually it is checking uh, whether that some other thing maybe. Now for Fibonacci series, it is a huge number, right?
Yes.
But initially you have to start with two values,
Two
0 and
values.
1. So say you have defined those two variables, because those two variables will switch again,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So for these two variables, you will assign with two values, two specific values, that is 0 and 1, and that you can do from the constructor. You have defined another variable and you have checked that this is my range. Within this range, if this number will fall or not. For prime, we can just, I will check if you people have already written that logic or not. Ideally, I'm as like for prime number, what should be our logic? It should start from 2 and it will
Two
go
n
to
minus
less
one.
than the actual number, the loop. And with every number, I should divide it. If it is not uh, 0, the remainder is not 0, then that number is prime.
Yes.
Correct. So the starting value of this loop and till the number it will be assigned. So these two values, these are two different values from that Fibonacci series numbers, right? So these two variables you have defined, and that can be that you can also uh, uh, initialize with these constructors. Now the question is that class in that class where you have written three different methods, it is possible that for someone who is going to use that functionality, someone is going to use only one, someone is going to use two, someone is going to use all three methods. So accordingly they can actually provide or utilize different constructors. You can just initialize, say you have written four constructors. First constructor is actually assigning the values only for if you are using prime number, that functionality. So for that, whatever variables are required, you are just assigning those values. Now you, if you can provide this details, so if somebody is only using that prime number functionality, that person will use that constructor. Someone
Okay.
is three, you can just assign all these three. So that is the ideal, like whenever we are writing coding, that should be the ideal scenario. In some places you have to use constructor, but most of the places till now I would say you can avoid it. But it is the best practice and it is better to do that in that way, so that when you are defining the objects, you can control the variables you have already defined. Okay, now let's see if I do this, then what will happen? You can understand what will happen. These two will give error and this one will pass. Constructor not defined, constructor integer. So where it is actually complaining at this line. If I remove this line, it will again complain in this line, but it is not complaining in this line because if I haven't defined, then the default constructor is in play. And if I am writing any constructor without any argument, okay, this constructor, if I am writing any constructor without any argument, that is called default constructor overloading. Why it is called overloading? Because Apex was giving me the default constructor previously. Now, as I am writing my own constructors, Apex is not going to provide that. So I have to overload the default constructor with my own code. Okay. So you are actually overloading the default constructor provided by Apex. You are overloading that with your code. So your code is going to be used in the actual class when you are calling this. So this thing is called constructor. The basic functionality of constructor, you can look into that Apex guide, and you can uh, like in the trailhead itself, it will be there. And then the next one, what I just want to go through is method. What is a method? Initially, what we have understood, that if I have to do any functionality, if I have to use data, I have to define objects, right? Sorry, I have to define variables within objects. That is the data part. And if I have to perform any functionality, then I have to write some method. So methods are actually ways to write my logic, right? Then what are the things actually uh, constructs a method? Public is nothing but access specifier. This is not specific to any method. So here I have written public, here I have written public. Public means access specifier, that I will come later. But after that, what are the things, what are the constructs of a method? Most of the time we were writing void till now. What is void? We will come to this. So you are trying to check, say for this one, I am just trying to check whether a number is even or odd. Okay. So what I can do, I can just take any value from whatever variables I have defined. I can take any value, and I can check whether that number is even or odd. But whenever somebody is trying to check a number is even or odd, ideally that value that person should be passing, right? My um position, or whoever is writing the base logic, the position of that person should be, you provide me the values, I will give you, you provide me the values, I will give you the answer or result. So what I can do, I can just put one argument here, integer argument, and this one I can just check whatever logic I have to write, I will write it here. That is fine. Like if blah blah blah, if uh, math dot mod x comma 2 equals to 0, then I can just print system dot debug, right? I can just put system dot debug, value of x even. See, I'm putting like this. I can put like this. I can just print those. It depends upon the requirement of the program. But ideally, whoever is trying to check whether this number is even or odd, what kind of return, what they would expect from this method. Like this method will tell them like whether this value is even or odd. And if I am using this in between of another program, another logic, at that time this system.debug will not help me much. I need some value by which I can understand whether this is actually even or odd, right? What we can do simple things. We can return some value depending on this logic. Probably this will not work, but anyway, otherwise I will change it. So I can just return a value, and I can tell that person with this method definition that you want to check even or odd. If you get returns, if you get zero when you are actually calling this method, if you get the value zero, then this will actually, this value, whatever value you have passed in this method, that is even. If you are getting the value one, then it is this, that value is odd. Okay. So in that scenario, that person can, with the return value, they can identify, like with this
Hello,
zero or one value, when they are accessing
hello.
this method, they can identify whether that number was even or odd, what number they have provided. Now this is a very simple thing, but think about prime number, or say checking a number whether that number is belonging to mm, Fibonacci series or not. So there can be more complex things, whatever it is, even or odd. You can just look into it and you can understand. Anyway, within program, you cannot look into that value when that is actually executing, and if those values are getting calculated in runtime. Like say you have one object in account, you have one field in account, and you are actually combining, like for that account you have say three related contacts, and there is one field value. You have to club all those field values and then check whether that number is even or odd. So in that scenario, in that situation, you cannot check, like there is no way that manually you can look into those values. Within program you have to find it. So anyway, you have to write the logic in that situation. So with this return value, you can identify whether this number is even or odd. Now the question is, what I have to change in this program to, I had to change in this program to ensure that this number, whatever was passed, whatever I am trying to return, that can get returned. That is this, in place of void we have written integer. What is integer? Integer is nothing but a data type. So return of a function can only be a data type. And There is only one value we can return. We cannot return multiple values from one method. So your return type of a method can only, if you are not returning any value, like till now we have written so many methods and we were not returning any value. When we are not returning any value, at that time uh, the return type would be void. And if I am returning any value, then the data type of that value I have to put in return type, right? Now, whatever value I have passed till now, this one I have put hard coded 0, but I could put something else. I could put one variable, right? I can just put like this. I can do the same thing. Here I am returning one variable. I am not returning any specific value. But in this case as well, the return type should be integer because the variable a is of type integer, right? Don't look into these constructors right now. This part is gone. So only technical part we are discussing right now is what is method and what is the return type of the method. Okay. So here I have given one argument, same as constructor. I can put multiple arguments here. Same way I can define multiple, like I can use one input argument or multiple input arguments. So I have to just put comma and I have to just put the data type and the name of a variable. That I can do. So in method we can pass multiple arguments, but return type is only one. You can return only one value from one method. Okay. Now let's see what happens if I change this data type. Say instead of 0 and 1, I am putting this value. If I do this, what will happen? Illegal conversion from Boolean to integer. Where? At line 20 and line 24. Why? This true or false value is nothing but Boolean. And my return type, what I have given till now, is integer, right? If I change it to Boolean, then let's see, the errors are gone. So, what data I am actually returning from the method, that specific data type I have to mention in the return type. Clear to everybody, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
So this part I am just putting you so that you can take the reference. The previous things you might forget, but with this thing you will understand like what is my return type. Practically I haven't defined method today. I have only defined the return type here and input arguments. Till now we haven't used input arguments, but now we are going to use input arguments with methods. Okay. So I will send this to you guys. This is only the method, not the remaining part. Let me send you the constructor as well in a, so then, okay. So now let's go back to, I'm not sharing screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So okay, let now let's look into the assignments what we have done. Okay. So before that, you can also do another thing, that is, you can just try to write one class with constructor. Okay, you will use only one constructor, and you will that can be without argument, that is the default constructor overloading you can use, and you can just check, or you can just print all the odd numbers or all the even numbers between a range. Okay, and that range will be provided at the time of execution of that uh, method. Like you will write print odd, or say print even, whatever it is, you will print only even or odd numbers, but it will be between one range, specific range. Say that range, I can say 100 to 200, or I can say 5 to 18. But this thing I will mention when I am executing that method. So that means what you have to do, you have to take two variables as arguments. You have to execute the for loop within that range, right? That is, your argument is say integer x and integer y. So in for loop, you have to, if your loop variable is I, then it should be I equals to x, I is less than equals to y, and then I plus plus. And then within this for loop, you have to check whether the existing loop variable, you are getting all the values within the loop variable. Loop variable is I. So that loop variable is even or odd. If it is even, you will print. If it is odd, you will not print. Only say if you are printing odd. Sorry, printing even. So write this program using one constructor and the method as I have mentioned with input arguments. So return type can be void, but with input arguments. And another program you should be writing, if you have already written your prime program, then in that program you can just change it. That is, you will pass one value as argument, and you will check whether that number is prime or not. If it is prime, you will return true. If it is not prime, non-prime number, then you will return false from that method. So these two things you start doing, and then I will come back. I will check that. Uh, taking a breath for 2 3 minutes. After that, Shushovan, I will explain you the constructor part. Method part you have already heard. So initially, what I have discussed about constructor, that I will come back with.
Thank you, sir. Sure, sir. Actually, I have understand the method part and the void type and then return type, but constructor, sir, please explain, sir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you. No issue. You start writing this code, and then I will look into this for next half an hour. The whatever we have done in previous week, whatever the assignments were, and we will just look into this one, at least the first one. Second one, we can just adjust the previous day's assignment to make this happen. Okay.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay, Shobhan,
Yes, sir.
regarding constructor. So constructor is nothing but um, assigning or uh, assigning the initial values and to do the memory allocation for any object of that class. So what happens, like if we don't write any constructor, then Apex will provide you one default constructor. And for that, it will not provide any arguments. So that is without argument, there would be one constructor by default provided by Apex. But if you have defined any constructor, then that constructor will not be defined to you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, the second part is that constructor, we can write multiple constructors within a class, right? Only thing is that my arguments, whatever arguments I am passing there, I have already provided the code. So you can check that in WhatsApp group. So uh, constructors like I can define multiple constructors with different types of argument or different numbers of argument. Like I can define one constructor with integer, one argument integer. I can define one constructor with one argument and the type of that argument is string. That is possible. But I cannot define two constructors, both are having integer as argument. Okay. So, uh, like I cannot define constructor, the first, say my first class, and within argument, I cannot write integer x, and the next one I have defining my first class within bracket integer a, right? So, if the types of the arguments are the same along with the count, then we cannot define that. So if I have to define multiple constructors within a class, the arguments or the type of the arguments needs to be different. So that is the initial part what I have discussed. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yeah.
Clear, sir.
Okay. So you can take 5 minutes more to complete the assignment, and then we will look into this. Okay. Okay, show me.
Yes, sir. Sir, may I share my screen?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I told like you don't need to return anything. You can just print the numbers, whatever is. But anyway, uh, the important thing is that there is a logical issue here.
Yes, sir.
First, you are returning x. You are returning the value of x. How many times it can return? You are coming into this method. Return means you are actually completing the execution of that method. Return would be the last statement. Return must be the last statement of your method. Now, if you are writing this, anyway, it is not finding the return till now. Uh, just put that, don't put any return, put system dot debug and print x, print I actually. Within for loop, if you are returning, that means you are returning multiple, you are trying to return multiple values, right? System
Yes,
will
sir.
not allow you. You can only return only one value, right? Simply you can print I with some message or without any message, that is fine. You have put two semicolon, remove that, remove one, and remove the return type, like change that to a void. Save it. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
that is fine. Someone else show me the what we have actually like discussed last week, whatever the assignments we had. Someone show me that.
Sir, can you show me my as
Yep, yep.
this-
So Dibanjan, you can stay after this call once it is completed, and we can discuss something else there. Okay, what is this? Check odd number, integer n. So if you are taking n integer, then what is that n? Whether that number is, whether n is odd or even, right? Priyanka, you are in mute.
sorry, sir.
Yeah. So you have taken one number as argument, and you are trying to check whether that number is even or odd, right?
Yes, sir.
Then why you need a loop?
Okay. Yes.
Logically, just think logically. Why you need that loop? Loop means you are doing something repetitive.
Repetitive. Yes.
So if you think that there is a range of numbers, or say integer n is from 1 to up to n, I will I will print all the odd numbers or all the even numbers. Then I will execute a loop. Like I have to check 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a repetitive job. That is, I'm checking multiple. multiple.
Actually, I want to check within a range 50 to 70. There is how many odd number is there?
Right. So between 50 to 70, if you want to check, then you don't need to take that as integers. You can just take that as your argument. You can comment out line 3. Go to line 3 and put 2 front slash in the beginning. Another one. So now it is commented. So here within check odd number, put integer n or integer x, comma, integer y.
This side, sir.
Yeah. In place of n, just put x, comma, integer y. No, integer y. You cannot write this. Like, it is not variable definition. In variable definition, you can do that, but when you were actually putting the input arguments, you cannot put that integer x comma y. It must be integer x comma integer y. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Now, in system.debug, you can just put anything like odd numbers are, something like that. So, line 10, I am talking about. Number is odd or even, it is not like that. You are going to print a series of numbers which are even or odd. So if you are putting, then put odd numbers are. Now that part is fine till line 10, it is fine. Now what is your logic? Like, you want to find all the odd numbers between the range x and y, right?
Yes, sir.
So your loop, like, you will start checking from which number, x, then I equals to x, I must be
Yes.
equal to x, and you want to check up to what? You want to check up to y, then I is less than equals to y.
Sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Now what is important is that you are getting all the numbers from x to y in which variable? In I, in the loop variable. Say you are
Yes.
trying to check between 10 to 20, then x, in x you should be putting value 10, and in y you should be putting value 20 when you were executing this method, right? You will define the
Yes.
object, and from there you will call that method. So calling of the method I haven't shown you, so here I can just show you how you can do that. Now when you were putting this putting these values, there is some issue. Okay, anyway, just comment 6 and 7, line 6 and 7, because we haven't defined x and y as separate integer.
Delete this, sir.
You can delete or you can just comment it out for now.
Okay.
Fine. Now, so let's come back to line number 11. So here what we need to do, we need to check whether this number is odd or even, correct? So
Yes.
define another variable in line 2. After I, just put another thing, that is j. Put z, yeah, anything. J is equal to 0, just assign that with 0 at least. Or you can do that with the argument as well. Sorry, the constructor as well. But anyway, let's forget about the constructor for now. Now let's come back to line number 10. So variable where you want to store the math.mod, their variable you have defined now, that is j. So replace x with j, that is j is equal to math.mod, Now in math.mod, what you are trying to check, which number you are trying to check?
I.
Exactly. Then I comma 2 it should be. So now again, which one you have to check whether this number is even or odd?
J, sir.
Correct. And in system debug, you should be putting only the variable value, that is the I, not anything else. Perfect. Now let's see what are the issues. Save it. It is it saved?
Yes, sir.
Where it is coming? Palindrome number check. Okay.
But
Okay, that is fine. That is a different class. We can just, yeah, check odd number. Put that. Now you can wait. Now with X, you are executing. You should be executing the method, right? The
yes,
method is check odd number. So X dot check odd number is
yes,
your method.
yes, sir.
Just a minute. You have put the whole thing in check odd number. So your class name and method name cannot be the same. Your class name and method, if your class name and method name is same, that means you are defining a constructor. Constructor cannot have return type.
Yes,
So put something else, check odd number one or simply odd number, that is also fine. Now X dot odd number you have to call, and within first bracket you have to pass two integer variables because you have given arguments, right? Put
yes,
50
sir.
70. Values.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Here you are, when you are executing, you will be passing values.
Yes.
You can define variables here, you can provide variables here. So then you have to define those variables. Say you want to put m and n, then here you have to define m is equal to 50, n is equal to 70, and then you can pass it like this, m comma n.
Okay, sir.
Clear?
Yes,
Now
sir.
let's execute it. Method you have saved. Okay, click OK. First save that class. Your class is not saved after change. Now execute it.
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes.
Okay. Now important thing is that you should look into this method, and then you should frame or create your different classes where you have faced the issues. You have to get accustomed with this coding.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So anyone else? Palindrome number or anything you have completed?
Yes, sir. I have completed Fibonacci series or prime number.
That is fine.
Sir, I have
Let's
done that
see
too.
if there is anyone else who has completed that.
Okay, sir.
Shubhapan, tell me.
Sir, I have completed the Fibonacci series and prime number previous, last
Show me
assignment.
the prime number.
Okay, sir. Sir, visible, sir?
Yeah, visible.
Sir, prime number I have done this one.
So which one you are trying to check whether that number is prime?
Basically, sir, what I have done, I have took a number like from 1 to 100, so not specific number. So whenever I am going to set the prime number, I have used the logic. This one.
Hmm. Line number 10. Check that and tell me uh, what is wrong there.
In 10, this line, sir, right?
You cannot see any issue there.
No, sir, there's no issue. Actually, the programming executing also.
Program is executing as well.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
Sir, what I have done, basically, I have took a number like from 1 to 100. So suppose prime number is a 7. So I am just dividing the number from 2 to 7. The 2 number, 3 number, 4, 5, 6, like that. Each and number from 1 to 100. Each and number is divided by every number. So after that, I executed this one, that I equal to j, so that I am getting that number. Suppose 7 is a prime number. 7, only 7 is divided by 7, except 1. So 7 equal to 7, that is a prime number. So if there is something like 4 or 8 or 6, so it won't be like only 6 or 1. This is dividable by 3 or 2 also. I mean, the number I'm talking about 6. So this is not a prime number like that, sir. So it is executing. Whenever I'm going to execute, this one is working well.
So first thing is that why you need to check whether you have started from 2 in line number 10,
Hmm.
but why you are checking up to I? You must
Uh,
be checking less than I. It will always be divisible by the same number. That is the basic logic. Why you need to do that?
Sir, basically what I have done, suppose I'm starting for the 1, right? So
Hmm.
1 went back to the I equal to 1 and j is 2, right? So I mean, I
Anyway, that will not come into the second loop.
yes, sir. So then it goes back to the 2. The 2 number will come here. Then j divided by 2 equal to 0. So it will break the chain, and it comes to the I equal to 2 j. So that 2 equal to 2, that means it is a prime number, because 2 is divided by 2 only. So after it went to the 3, then 3 will working in the loop. So it comes to the j. 3 divided by because I have 2, that 2. So 3 divided by 2, which is not equal to 0. It will comes like remainder will be 1. So break done, and it will not come back to the if. So again it will come back to the 4. I mean,
So
loop is running.
is 3 prime number or not?
3 is a prime number, sir. 3 will work it out, sir.
Okay, how? What is the logic?
Basically, whenever I'm going to took that number 3, it comes over here. 3 divided by 2, which is not equal to 0. Okay. So
Right.
whenever I'm going to not getting the not equal to 0, so it will go back to the j part. Okay, sir.
Right.
So j, I mean, once it comes to the j, that means 3, j less than equal to I. That means the number will be the 3. So, because it is increasing, right? 3 divided by 3 equal to 0. Then it will break the chain and it will come to the if. So 3 equal to 3, that means it is a prime number. Again, it comes to the I,
Okay.
starting with
I
the
got
4.
it. I got it.
And sir, I have done the
You can
Fibonacci.
utilize, yeah, that is also fine. But anyway,
Sir, what I
yeah,
have
that
done
is fine.
actually, I have put that number from 1 to 100 and writing that like that. So after that, I got the logic.
that is called the tracing table. When you are doing this is called what we were doing this right now. That is called dry run. And when you are actually defining a result set and trying to build your logic, that is called the tracing table, and that is important for writing a program. But more efficient way of finding prime or prime number is uh, is that you should divide that number by half of that number, till half of that number, not the whole all numbers starting from 2 to that number itself. Because logically, when you are looking into any prime number will always be divisible by one or that number. That is fine. But uh, it must not be divisible by any other number. So when we are saying any other number, then a number can only be divisible by half of that number. Like say 100. 100 can be divisible by any number between 1 to 50, not by 51. So beyond 51, any number beyond 51, any number there, like 100 cannot be divisible by any number beyond 51, right? So in your logic, whatever you have written, Shubhapon,
Yes, sir.
logically that is correct. But if I have to think about program effectivity, or I would say the performance of the program, right now you are checking it from 1 to 100. If it is 1 to 10,000, obviously your program will be more slow. If it
Okay, sir.
is beyond that range, then it would be even slower. So the best way is that, and it is not only for Shubhapan, it is for everybody. Whenever you are writing your logic, try to reduce number of uh, execution of any loop. Try to reduce that, because if it is increasing, if the number of uh, execution for a loop is increasing, your program complexity is increasing. In turn, program efficiency will be less and it will take more time to execute. In Salesforce, there is one thing that is called apex CPU limit. With more complex program which is taking more time to execute can hit apex CPU limit. Okay. So, Shubhapan, whatever you have done, that is good. Now, try to rewrite the same program with this consideration that only I have to, the second loop where I am actually checking whether this number is prime or not, I have to go up to half of that number, not beyond that.
I mean, in between 50, sir.
Obviously. So if you are taking, no, no, in not in between 50, it is you are taking any number, that is I is the loop by which you are identifying the number,
Okay.
correct? Which number you have to take as prime or not. Now in loop of j, you will go till half of I, that is I by 2, because if that number, whatever the number is,
Hmm.
say that number is 62,
Hmm.
then you must not go beyond 31, because after that there is no number except itself that number, it would be divisible, right?
Yes,
Because
sir.
30, 32, 33, 34, 35, any number that cannot divide the original number, because you are already reached the half of that.
Okay.
Correct? Got the point?
Yes, sir.
So rewrite it in a way, the same program, rewrite it in a way that the second loop where you are actually checking whether that number is prime, that will go till the half of that number, that is half of I.
Suppose, sir, normal question, sir. Suppose I have taken a number like 25. So half of a number like 12, it will comes to the 12, then it won't back to the 25. Right,
Correct.
sir?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, sir. I will do that, sir.
Okay, great. Let me stop the recording for today.